So a couple of takeaways from this game. Ohio State defeats Texas, plays Notre Dame in the national championship. This was obviously a lot closer game than I think a lot of people. Obviously, Ohio State had an incredible 2 games in this playoff with absolutely destroying Tennessee and Oregon. I didn't think that was going to be the case. There were some people that were still thinking this was going to be a blowout from the beginning, and it started to look like that. I think that the one thing you can say looking at these 2 teams are that both of these programs have elite talent. You know, we know the price tag, the, I guess, alleged, reported price tag of Ohio State at, $20 million for this Ohio State team. But Texas has the athletes as well. These are probably the 2 best rosters in college football. And for Texas, there are a couple things that I want to talk about because I think that this has been talked about a lot with Sarkisian. I think he's a really good coach. I don't think that you get to this level without being a good coach and a good recruiter. I don't necessarily think that Ryan Day outcoached Sark in this game. I just think that it was some weird circumstances and play calling by Sark late in the game. He tends to get pass happy, and that's what that was today. In the second half, the Longhorns were able to run the ball, and they were able to be efficient running the ball. And the offensive line for Texas kind of started leaning on this Ohio State defensive front, and they were able to get some things, and then Sark goes away from it. I think he wants to show that he's a good coach and that he can dial up these plays. And obviously that nothing more evident than the goal line stand. You know, Texas has it 1st and goal from the 1 and you can't get it in. And I know that Ohio State's defense is really good in the red zone, and especially with goal-to-goal situations, one of the tops in the country at stopping that. But you get a first down run, doesn't get anything, and then you try to outsmart them and go with a wide pitch out to the right to try to outrun them. No. I think that sometimes we get too cute. Just get the ball, put Arch Manning in. That would have been a perfect time for Arch Manning, because then you have to respect both of those guys running, because with Quinn Ewers back there, you know they're going to hand the ball off. You know that he's not a mobile quarterback that can do that. So I thought that was going to be the perfect opportunity to get Arch in the game and just hand the ball off. If they stop you 4 straight times at the 1-yard line, then give it to them. I mean, if you can't run to the teeth of the defense, then they were just better. But you get cute, you try to run to the outside, and you lose 7 yards on a play. And that's where I think Sark really struggles a lot of the times. And we've seen this time and time again. There should have been times in the Texas A&M game that Texas put away the Aggies, got too cute. They got a little too cute against Arizona State last week in the quarterfinals. Clemson, they kind of held that game for the most part, but there were some times that was treacherous, and it seems like you just abandon the run really quickly. And for a team that abandons the run apparently just whenever they can, because Sark likes to do that, or at least tends to do that in these situations, Texas has incredible running backs. Trey Weiser, Jaden Blue, those guys weren't even supposed to be the starters. C.J. Baxter was supposed to be the starter. Bijan Robinson, Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams. I mean, this is a running back university, and yet on 1st and goal, you don't just run the ball 4 straight times from the 1. I'm not going to put anything on the 82-yard return. It is what it is. The score is going to be that it was a lot closer, obviously. If someone just looks at the score and they say, oh, man, 28-14, yeah, it really was a lot closer than that, back-and-forth game. I thought Texas held their own. Ohio State tried to get the ball to Jeremiah Smith didn't work. And guess what? Will Howard only forced the ball to him that once, and he got picked off, and then again, he didn't go back to it. He didn't force anything. And that's kind of where these games are won. The Texas defense has played incredible all season long, and this was another situation where they did that. They held this Ohio State offense to 21 points, and really the Buckeyes struggled offensively for a good portion of that second half. So this was a great game. I think that for Texas, you're going to look back at this and you're going to say 2 straight semifinal losses, and that's going to hurt. But I think there's obviously optimism. Somebody had mentioned this before. It's like anytime Arch Manning got into the game, anytime this season, it felt like Tim Tebow. It felt like a guy that was just in waiting and provided some spark and some energy. And a lot of people were questioning why Quinn Ewers was still the quarterback. Why wasn't Arch Manning coming into these games? And I want to defend Sark for a little bit on that. I don't think it would be really easy for Arch Manning to come in and try to play hero ball in these situations. He tried to do that against Georgia at home earlier in the year. Didn't work out, right? Had the same situation and the same problems that Quinn had. Kept getting hit, even though, yes, he has the ability to get out of the pocket. It was a struggle. And so I think that it's hard to ask somebody to come into a game like this and make a play. Now, he did on that 4th down run earlier in the game. It was, 4th and 1, and he got 8 yards on it, almost fumbled. But the defense knows what he's coming in to do. They had to get a little tricky and a little misdirection with the snap underneath its tight end's legs, trying to get it to him. I just think that when you're in a situation like this and you have a team that you think can compete for a national championship, the last thing that you want to do, and people say, well, Quinn Ewers is not going to get you to a national championship. He couldn't get you to a national championship last year, and he struggled in the playoffs this year. That is true, okay? There's no denying that. But the only thing that could be worse is if you bench that guy that has won you so many games and Arch is terrible. And then you have killed Quinn's confidence. You've put Arch in a terrible situation. And now you're looking around going, okay, well, do I go back to the guy that won us a lot of games, or do we stick with a guy that might be struggling? And I think that Sark is kind of in a weird spot here. I do think that this Texas team is going to be back. Their recruiting has been great, and I do think that Arch Manning is going to be a good quarterback. But I do think there's something to be said about having a full offseason where you are the number one guy. And when you are in the huddle, when you are the ones in those team meetings as QB1 the entire season, and you know that you are the guy. Arch knew this year when he was playing when Quinn Ewers was hurt, he knew that this was Quinn's team. There's a difference of playing at Texas State versus playing Georgia in the SEC championship game, or playing Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. There's a different element to it. And so I think that Quinn did a decent job. I think he had some great throws. I even wrote down here in my notes, like, there are moments in this game where Quinn, it's like, yeah, he's got the touch. I mean, he's able to layer the throws, and that's something that you hear NFL scouts talk about. Sometimes college quarterbacks struggle with, is layering throws. I think that Quinn Ewers layers throws perfectly. I think he has a beautiful deep ball. He just doesn't know when to throw what. I mean, he doesn't really have a fastball. I mean, he'll rainbow throws that feel like need to be zipped in there. But tonight there were some moments that it's like, yeah, he can move a little bit in the pocket. If you can keep him upright and can scheme some things up, maybe he could play in the NFL. I don't know. But I took away this game. I just took away that this is two pretty evenly matched teams. I thought Ohio State played well. Obviously, the big play, the 75-yard touchdown screen pass to Travion Henderson kind of to end that first half, which was a big momentum swing. Texas has just gotten tied up. Next play, 13 seconds left in the half, and they go 75 yards to the house to take the lead. But Texas answered coming back out in the second half. So, great game. I think these are two evenly matched teams, and I do think there is a dynamic shift in a changing college football that is coming. I've heard other people talk about it, but the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Penn States, the Big Ten, with the amount of alumni money that they have versus maybe an LSU or an Alabama, Georgia, and Texas is one of those teams that has a ton of donors that have a lot of money. And so these programs that were in the Final Four this year, I expect them to continue to be in the Final Four, Final Six. I don't think Texas is going anywhere. I don't think that Sark, even though he is reportedly getting interest from the NFL, I don't think that he's going to make that leap. I think he likes what he's building in Texas and with this program. And I think that Ryan Day is one game away from having people forget that he lost to Michigan. I don't know. I'll predict the national championship game before the game. We'll have a whole preview episode kind of previewing that national championship game that's a week from Monday, 10 days from now on January 20th. But this is a game that could have gone either way. A couple plays made late by Ohio State that Texas couldn't make. And I think that Coach Sark is going to have to answer for some of the play calling decisions, especially at the goal line situation. But Ohio State wins. They advance to the national championship to play Notre Dame. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. You can also subscribe to the Apple Podcast or whatever you want to go, Spotify, wherever you podcast. You can follow me on social media as well at Logan B. Ward. We'll be back. I have my NFL predictions. I put out a graphic that kind of has who I have in the wild card round because we're not going to have time to make a video for that, but we'll have a video talking about the divisional rounds and the wild card matchups, reactions there as well. All right, peace.